Welcome students to Navin Sir Physics classes. So today we are going to continue our same chapter, Force and Laws of Motion. So lecture 3. So in lecture 1 and 2 we discussed about the force, nature of force, classification of force, and what are balanced and unbalanced forces. In lecture 2 we discussed about the laws of motion. So according to Newton, the what are the effects of the forces studied in three ways. So that means he expressed three laws to express the effect of force on the object. So there he proposed three laws. So number one, law of inertia. Number two, law of force. Number three, law of action and reaction. So in lecture 2 we discussed only about law of inertia. So what is law of inertia? Until and unless there is an external force acting on a body, the body will continue in same state. That means if it is at rest, it will be at rest only. If it is in motion, it will continue its uniform motion. Okay. So there the Newton's first law gives the concept of inertia. What is mean by inertia? Not interested to change the state. So there we also studied. So mass gives the measurement of inertia. As the mass increases, inertia will also increases. In the same way, inertia we discussed in three types. So inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction. So we discussed in detail with examples. So today we are going to begin our session with some problems related to the some questions related to the law of inertia. So let us see the questions one by one. We will complete and we will move for the momentum. Right. So first question: Yatin spends most Sunday afternoons at rest on the sofa, watching football games and consuming large quantities of food. What effect does this practice have upon his inertia? That means he is sitting and is continuously consuming the food. What will happen? His mass, his weight will increases. So if weight increasing, automatically the inertia will also increases. So what happens to his inertia? So inertia will increases. Right? Second question. So small droplets of water fall down when you shake a wet piece of cloth due to. So water droplets are present in the small pores of the cloth. So when you shake it vigorously, what will happen? The cloth is in motion but not the water droplet. Just like an example for the beating a carpet with a stick, what happens? The dust particle will fly up. In the similar manner, the droplets will also falls down due to inertia of rest of droplets. Right, next one. So why it is advised to tie the luggage with a rope on the roof of a bus? So when the bus is in motion, so without tying the luggage, we cannot travel through a long distance somehow. So what will happen? Without tying, if driver applies brake suddenly, or when the bus is rest, if we move suddenly, what will happen? The luggage will fall down. So to prevent the fall in both direction of the luggage from the roof of the bus. So not only in forward direction, not only in backward direction. So when it is at rest, if start suddenly, it will move backward. When it is in motion, if start suddenly, it will move forward. That means in both cases, to prevent the fall of the luggage, definitely it should be tied with a rope. Right, next one. Name the property of matter due to which a body continue in state of rest or uniform motion unless an external force acting on it. Okay now? So this property is known to be inertia. Right, next question. The sparks during sharpening a knife against a grinding wheel leaves the rim of the wheel tangentially. This is due to. So I think so. In your daily life, you observe when the people comes to sharp the knife, they have one grinding machine. As the machine is rotating, they will place the knife at this edges. Okay, as they are sharpening this, the sparkles will move like this in this direction. Along the tangent, the sparks will move. So this is what? Due to direction of inertia. And the last one, when a body is stationary, so when it is at stationary, there is no force acting on it. The force acting on it is not contact with it. The combination of forces acting on it balances each other. The body is in vacuum, none of this. So this is your right option. The combination of forces acting on it balances each other. Okay na? So when there is no force acting on it, we cannot say it is at rest. Okay now, the combination of the forces acting on it balances each other, then only we can say the body is at rest. So this is your correct option. So these are the some theory questions related to the concept of inertia. Okay, so let us discuss about the Newton's second law of motion. Before going to discuss about the Newton's second law of motion, let us discuss about the linear momentum. Linear momentum. So if you know this linear momentum clearly, then only we can understand the second law of motion. Otherwise we cannot understand. Sir, what is mean by linear momentum? Linear nothing but straight line. Let us imagine on a surface two marbles are present or two balls are present. So mass of this body is 1 kg and mass of this body is half kg. And the second body is at rest, and the first body is moves with a speed of 20 meter per second. It moves towards the second one. So when this first ball hits the second one, so what will happen? So your guess is correct. The second ball will be set into motion. So why it is set into motion? Because due to this moving object, there is some impact created on the another object. Okay now, so the impact of the moving body is known to be momentum. That means the impact created by the body on another bodies due to its motion is known to be linear momentum. It is the sense of the momentum. It is actual meaning of the momentum. Okay, so we will take so many examples. So for suppose when you place a stone on the sheet of glass, okay, so there is the glass will never break when you place the stone at. Now if you drop this stone from a particular height on the sheet of glass, so what will happen? So the glass will break. So why the glass will break? Here initially the block initially in first case what happened? This is at rest. So when it is at rest, it do not have any impact on the sheet of glass. But when it is freely falling, it has some velocity. With some velocity strikes the sheet of glass. So due to this velocity, it creates some impact on the sheet of glass. That's why the sheet of glass will break. In the same way, when the gun is fired from a bullet, so it can able to get into the wooden blocks somehow. It can comes out of the wooden blocks. What will happen when it is at rest? Simply it cannot passes through the wooden block. But when it is fired, so that means it has some momentum. It has some impact. So the impact of the object due to its motion is known to be momentum. So write the definition of momentum. It is the impact created by an object on other objects due to its motion. Due to its motion. Sir, how to calculate this impact? So how to calculate its linear momentum? Okay na? So to calculate the linear momentum, the formula of linear momentum is the product of mass and velocity of an object. The product of mass and velocity of an object is known to be linear momentum. We can write linear momentum is equals to mass into velocity. Sir, what about unit of this? So we have two system of units basically we are using. So in SI, unit of mass is kilogram and unit of the velocity is meter per second. So SI unit of linear momentum is kg meter per second and CGS unit of linear momentum is gram centimeter per second. Okay, that means linear momentum of an object is depends on mass, is also depends on velocity of an object. Let us discuss these two. Okay na? So in case 1, so two objects, one is having mass 1 kg, another one is of mass 2 kg. So both are moving with same speed. So 20 meter per second and 20 meter per second. So V1 is 20 and V2 is also 20. Now they are asking, write the relation between momentum of these two objects. So they given that P1 less than P2, P2 greater than P2 less than P1, P1 equals to P2, none of the above. These are the options given to you. So here, if you observe that they are asking the relation for momentum. So momentum we know that product of mass and velocity. So here which is constant? If you observe the given case, the velocity is constant. If velocity is constant, the body which has the greater mass, that will possess the greater linear momentum. So what is the relation between the masses? We know that m2 greater than m1. Then automatically we can get the relation p2 greater than p1. So what is your answer? Your option will be A. Or if you want to do mathematically, yes, you can do it also in mathematically. So P1 is equals to M1 V1 you can write. So 1 into 20. So 20 kg meter per second is P1. And then P2 you can write M2 V2. Therefore we are going to get 2 into 20, 40 kg meter per second is your answer. Therefore from these two we can get P2 greater than P1. If in long answer or in a theoretical manner if they are asking, you can approach this model. If in objective bits, so choose the right option. If they ask, we can go select this method. It is an easy method. So by using this concept P directly proportional to M, we can identify so which has the greater momentum. Right, let us take the case 2. So consider two objects, each of mass 5 kg. So M2 is also 5 kg. So first one is moving with a speed of 40 meter per second. Second one is moving with a speed of 25 meter per second. They are asking the relation between their momentums. So P1 less than P2, P2 less than P1, P1 equals to P2 and in none of this. So here momentum. So we should write the formula for momentum P equals to mb. So in these two objects, so which is maintaining constant? So mass of the both bodies is constant. That's why we can remove this proportion. We can remove this. We can reduce proportion P directly proportional to V. Therefore we can write P1 directly proportional to V1, P2 directly proportional to V2. So which has greater mass? V1 has greater mass, V2 has which one has greater velocity? V1 has greater velocity. Therefore V1 greater than V2, then automatically P1 greater than P2. So if they asked as a problem in your theory exam, then definitely you can go approach with this M1 V1 P2, M1 V1, and P2 is equals to M2 V2. So P1, so 5 into 40, so this is 200, and this is 25 into 5, that is 125. So this is the way of doing the problems related to the linear momentum. They will give mass and they will give velocity. So copy these two questions as example 1 and example 2 related to this. So example 1 and this is example 2. So you can write the question like this: two objects are moving as shown in figure. Then which of the following is correct? Okay, you draw this question and draw the figure, and these are the options. Write the solution. So you can write one sentence: if m constant, p directly proportional to v. Right, next, here this one also you can write same question, you can write and following options. So if you plot a graph between momentum and mass, momentum and velocity, so here what kind of relation they have? Direct proportion. So I will give the hint to how to plot the graphs. Generally we can plot the graphs by taking the quantities along y-axis and by taking the quantities along x-axis. So if x increases, y also increases. What is the relation? If y directly proportional to x, then nature of graph is straight line. Straight line passing through origin. Already we discussed in motion chapter. That means if x increases, y also increases. The graph motion should be like this. So straight line passing through origin. Right. If y is inversely proportional to x, so nature. So what kind of nature of graph we can get? So it is inverse proportion. So here direct proportion, and here inverse proportion. If there is an inverse proportion between the quantities, we can get the graph as a hyperbola like this. So y x. Next, in the same way, sometimes we can get this relation also if y directly proportional to 1 by x square. So if it is y directly proportional to 1 by x square, so the nature of graph is rectangular hyperbola. Rectangular hyperbola. The same, but it will bend somewhat deep like this. So y x. Sometimes we can also get in the format of y is equals to mx plus c. So y equals to mx plus c, nothing but m is the slope of the straight line and c is the interception. So this is positive interception c, and slope will be x equals to m equals to this one, slope. Okay, another graph is also there, that is y is equals to mx minus c. So if it is mx minus c, straight line, but it has a negative interception, it cuts the y-axis, negative y-axis it will cut y x. So this is useful information, you can copy in the notes, as it is you can copy in the notes. Okay, right, let us plot the graph for momentum mass. So what kind of relation between mass and linear momentum? Direct or indirect? So direct proportion. If it is a direct proportion, by taking momentum along y-axis and mass along x-axis, we can get the graph straight line passing through origin. In the same way, P directly proportional to V. So here also the nature of graph will be straight line passing through the origin. It indicates that as mass increases, linear momentum increases, as velocity increases, linear momentum of object will also increases. Okay, na? So remaining concept related to the momentum we are going to discuss in law of conservation of linear momentum. There we have a in detail discussion about this law of conservation of momentum. So next we are moving to the Newton's second law of motion. Second law of motion or law of force. Sir, what is mean by second law of motion or law of force? So before going to get into this in detail explanation of the law of force, let us take one example here. So an object is moving with a velocity, initial velocity 10 meter per second. Okay. So as it is moving, I am applying some force on it. Unknown force, I don't know this magnitude, how much I am applying, I don't know. So due to application of this force, its velocity becomes 40 meter per second. Right, next, the same magnitude of the body, that means if it is 1 kg, in second case also I am taking 1 kg. So initially it is moving with same speed 10 meter per second. Now I am applying some force on it, unknown force. Its speed becomes 20 meter per second. Now tell me, in which case the force acting on the object is maximum? If you observe carefully, your answer will be in case 1, we can say that the magnitude of the force is maximum. So how can you say the force acting on the object 1 is maximum? So how can you compare? So here the simple comparison is you are observing the speed. Here the change in speed delta V is equals to V minus U, that is 40 minus 10, that is equals to 30 meter per second. Okay, here what is the change in momentum here? So V minus U 20 minus 10, that is equals to 10 meter per second. If velocity changes, the momentum will also changes. So delta P equals to mass into velocity, change in velocity. The momentum is also changing. For suppose this is 1 kg, so 30 kg meter per second is the change in momentum. And here what is change in momentum? delta p is equals to mass into change in velocity. So 10 kg meter per second is change in momentum. So whose change in momentum is maximum? Delta p1 is greater than delta p2. From 1 and 2 we can write change in momentum delta p1 greater than delta p2. That means for suppose it acts for a time interval of delta t second, it is also acts for a time interval of delta t. That means it acts on the body for 4 seconds for suppose, it also acts on the body for 4 seconds. That means in the same time interval the first object change in momentum is maximum. That means, can I say simply, the rate of change of momentum. Okay, so rate of change nothing but what? The change in the physical quantity with respect to the time is known to be rate of change. Once again repeating, rate of change. When you are using this rate of change, the rate of change nothing but the variation or the change in the physical quantity with respect to time. Okay, now let us find out the change in momentum with respect to time. Change in momentum with respect to time. It is nothing but what? Rate of change of momentum. You write as it is in the notes. Rate of change of momentum. I am calculating rate of change of momentum in the two cases. So rate of change in momentum 30 by 4. So I think so we are going to get 7.5. Okay, kg meter per second into second square we are going to get. So this is case 1 in case 1. Next let us write in case 2. So in case 2, rate of change of momentum. So what is change in momentum? 10. Okay, so 10 by 4, 2.5. So here we can write rate of change of momentum in case 1 is greater than rate of change of momentum in case 2. Can I say this? So this is 7.5 and this is 2.5. Whose rate of change of momentum is greater? The first one has a greater change in momentum with respect to the time. So according to Newton's second law, the force acting on an object. So write the statement of Newton's second law. Force acting on an object is equals to rate of change of linear momentum of an object. Force acting on an object is equals to rate of change of linear momentum of an object. So this is the statement of Newton's second law. Sir, why it is called as a law of force? Okay, na? So according to the statement we can write F directly proportional to delta P by delta T. We can write number 1. That means it gives the quantity of force. The first law gives the quality. So quality nothing but what? Until the external force acting on a body, the body will be in the rest. That means that gives a quality. So but here it gives a quantity. How much? So how much force acting on it, that can be given by Newton's second law. So F directly proportional to rate of change of linear momentum. Right, let us continue this. So from 1 we can write F directly proportional to delta P by delta T. So we know that momentum is equals to mv. Can I write? Linear momentum is equals to mv. So substitute this 2 in 1. So what we are going to get? F directly proportional to delta mv by delta t. So even though force acting on it, the mass of the body never changes. So F directly proportional to, we are writing m in front of it, writing delta v by delta t. So change in velocity by time taken is known to be acceleration. We know it already. So A acceleration is equal to delta v by delta t. Therefore we can write F directly proportional to ma. So here, according to experimental verifications, we got the constant value as 1. So this we can write from experimental verifications. K value is considered as 1. Therefore, what is the expression for Newton's second law? So Newton's second law, F equals to ma. So m nothing but mass and a nothing but acceleration. Okay, so this is a derivation for Newton's second law of motion. Very important derivation. So once again I am repeating. So according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of linear momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. So as the change in momentum with respect to the time is maximum, the force acting on the body is also maximum. So this is the derivation part related to the Newton's second law. So important derivation. So they will ask the question like this. So state Newton's second law of motion and derive the expression for F equals to ma. So then you have to follow this step in deriving the expression. Okay na? So first you should write the statement. The rate of change of linear momentum F directly proportional to delta p by delta t. So we can write p equals to mv. We can substitute here, and m is constant. We are keeping in front of the delta. So m dv delta v by delta t. So delta v by delta t nothing but change in velocity with respect to the time, that gives acceleration. Therefore F equals to ma. So here k value according to experimental verification we are getting as 1. Therefore force is the product between mass and acceleration. Okay na? So in next lecture we are going to discuss about what is the unit of the force and what is the Newton, and we are also going to write the different formulas of the force by using equations of motion. Okay, so take care, stay safe.